Before we get into the specifics, it's worth setting the scene properly. During the Second World War, civilians were not experimenting for novelty or nostalgia. They were responding to ration books, supply disruptions, and the reality that imports could disappear overnight. What emerged from those constraints was not desperation cooking, but a highly disciplined food culture built on substitution, efficiency, and nutritional return. Many of the swaps developed between 1939 and 1945 were not inferior stand-ins. In several cases, they were healthier, more shelf-stable, and more resilient than the ingredients that replaced them after the war. Modern kitchens gained convenience, but often lost durability and nutrition in the process. How whole-grain wartime bread replaced refined flour without loss of energy. White flour vanished quickly once shipping lanes were threatened. Governments responded by mandating higher extraction flour that included bran and germ. The result was denser bread that delivered more fibre, B vitamins, and sustained energy. This bread did not spike blood sugar the way modern refined loaves do, and it kept workers full longer. Today, the same principle can be applied by replacing refined flour with true whole-milled grain or blending cracked wheat into dough. The texture changes, but the payoff is endurance rather than empty calories. How root vegetables quietly replaced imported starches. Potatoes, parsnips, turnips and Swedes became primary calorie sources when rice and pasta imports slowed. These roots stored well without refrigeration and could be used across meals. Unlike modern processed starches, they provided minerals and slow-burning carbohydrates. A practical modern application is simple. Replace boxed starch sides with roasted or mashed root vegetables prepared in batches that last several days without spoilage. How animal fats outperformed modern seed oils under stress. Butter, lard and dripping were conserved carefully, reused repeatedly, and prized for their heat stability. Unlike modern industrial seed oils, these fats did not oxidize quickly and tolerated high cooking temperatures. Wartime kitchens strained and reused fat as a matter of routine. Today, returning to stable fats for frying and roasting reduces waste and improves shelf life, especially in low refrigeration scenarios. You know, dried milk actually replaced fresh dairy with surprising success during those tough times. Fresh milk was unreliable, especially during bombing raids and fuel shortages, so folks had to make do. Dried milk became the standard, not just for children, but really for baking, sauces, and drinks of all sorts. Nutritionally, it still had calcium and protein, and the best part was it could be stored for months without spoiling. Even today, modern households can take a page from that book by keeping powdered milk on hand as a backup for cooking and emergencies, rather than relying entirely on perishables. Let me tell you, barley and oats really stepped up to the plate when rice and pasta became hard to find. When rice was scarce, barley and oats took its place, plain and simple. These grains grew locally in northern climates and needed far less processing, which made them practical. They actually provided more fibre and micronutrients than polished rice, too. These days you can do something similar by using pearl barley or steel-cut oats in soups and stews instead of pasta, making meals that satisfy for longer and help stretch your ingredients further. Back then, nothing went to waste, How vegetable scraps became stock is a perfect example. Peels, stems, bones and rinds were never just thrown away lightly during the war. All those scraps became nutrient-rich stocks that formed the base of countless meals. In modern kitchens, by comparison, we discard an enormous amount of nutritional value. But reintroducing this habit is straightforward, really. Just keep a container of scraps in the freezer and simmer them weekly into a broth that easily replaces store-bought alternatives. During the war, sugar was, well, heavily rationed, so folks had to get creative. Cooks began using dried apples, raisins, molasses and beet syrup to sweeten their food, which, by the way, also added a bit of minerals. These alternatives didn't just help stretch supplies, they actually slowed down sugar absorption and meant we didn't have to rely so much on imports. Even today, you know, cutting back on refined sugar by using dried fruit pastes or dark syrups can give you similar results, with a better nutritional balance. When coffee became scarce, people started roasting things like chicory barley and even dandelion root. Now, these drinks didn't have any caffeine, but they did support digestion and helped folks avoid becoming dependent on that morning pick-me-up. I mean, most of us probably won't give up coffee entirely these days, but, you know, swapping in caffeine-free substitutes now and then can really help reduce reliance and improve sleep, all without losing the comfort of the ritual. Instead of fresh meat, preserved fish, like canned sardines, pickled herring, and dried fish became everyday staples. These foods stored well, didn't need refrigeration, and provided those important omega fats. Funny enough, modern diets often overlook these options, even though they're affordable and last ages. Honestly, keeping preserved fish as a main source of protein rather than just an afterthought is one of the most practical lessons we learned from wartime days. So, how did seasonal eating come to replace year-round imports? Well, wartime kitchens cooked what was available, when it was available. This approach, you see, reduced waste and improved freshness. Applying this today means, honestly, adjusting our meals to local seasons rather than forcing year-round sameness through imports. Why did these swaps really matter, more than just the recipes themselves? What ties all these substitutions together is not thrift alone, but, you know, resilience. WWII households ate in a way that assumed disruption as normal. They planned for scarcity rather than convenience. That mindset is largely absent today, yet I'd say it remains just as relevant. Why do these lessons still deserve our attention? Well, these food swaps actually fed entire populations under sustained pressure. They reduced dependency, improved nutrition, and worked with minimal infrastructure. Revisiting them isn't about reenactment, not really. It's about reclaiming knowledge that modern systems, quite frankly, have quietly abandoned. If you value serious history, practical survival knowledge, and the hard-earned wisdom of the civilian war years, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And please share this video with someone who understands that the past still has something to teach us.